remote. There's sort of a remote sense starts
Yeah.
to happen. But I actually think after a while, the more I stay with that, that's actually more staying with myself rather than being remote. It's that I'm so used to sometimes going like this, even subtly with things, that when I stay back, like I'm doing now, I feel like my voice is just happening. I'm not saying, I'm not doing anything. It feels like, and it feels like a different way of participating almost altogether. Do you
Yeah.
understand, Carrie? You're nodding. Yeah. Yeah.
My husband will say, "Oh, you're doing that Alexander thing," when I try to do that when he's talking to me. And he doesn't like it. You know,
Oh, he doesn't like it, but I agree with Kareem. I saw your hand, Gordon, 1 minute. I think that I see that it feels like it makes space for the person.
yeah, he doesn't take it that. I mean, I think he feels like that I am making myself remote, or that I'm not really listening because I'm not leaning in, or I'm not, you know, people are used to me looking a certain way when they're talking, I guess. But it is really funny that he's like, "Oh, there's your Alexander."
But I mean, just to jump in, like I think kind of what I meant, Anne, is that I think it's like it's not always useful for every conversation. Like sometimes being aware of what's behind me makes space for me to see that, like, what I need to do in this moment is lean forward and nod. That's what the person wants, actually. That's what the conversation is requiring in this moment, is a yeah, right, totally, right. And that staying here, like it can feel artificial if I just, it's like Alexander's all about choice, right? Because I'm aware of the space, I can make the choice to then go.
Yeah. But as long as as long as you're aware of the choice, right?
Right.
That's the thing. As long as you're aware of the choice. Yeah, absolutely. It's really interesting. Gordon, yeah, your comment now. Uh-huh. Yeah. It'd be great to have your experience of it, though, rather than the visual. I mean, we're really looking to see your participation, not your scientific measurements. Great. Yeah. I don't think you're less engaged. You're engaged in a different way. Not less engaged. How do we know really anything? I guess that's the that's not like that's not a valid thing. Okay, Carrie. Yeah. Comment, Carrie. Yeah.
Yeah, I just have a question for you, Gordon. I mean, can you sense any difference in the vibrations that you're making? I mean, do you feel any more vibration in your back, or do you feel more in your head? That's what singers would look for, is that kind of sensation of something, you know, or more of the space resonating with the sound, rather than having to use the phone to measure it. You can actually just tell by feeling, you know. And so I would encourage you to kind of stay with that as much as you can, and because then that's going the direction we want to go anyway.
1 second, Levin. Yeah, I think yeah, constantly looking for external feedback like that might take you actually out of the experience. We want you to embody the experience. Yeah, Levin. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I just noticed I did a self-tape where I was thinking about technique. I think like I was really like, wow, I'm like really in my body. And then I watched it and I was like, this isn't great. And then the take that I really liked was when I was in the moment. So it's weird. I think I think that's what people say, like acting teachers always say, like have a practice where you practice all this stuff outside of the craft. And then when you're doing the thing, like then you're just doing it. You're not thinking, oh, my head is all the like I'm thinking about my scene partner behind me or the wall behind me. And I just thought that was interesting because the tape that was more alive, I wasn't thinking about the technique as much. And I think that's it's similar to what we're talking about, I think. Maybe. What do you think? I don't know.
Yes, and I think it's the same thing with everything. If we just apply our if we think about like this staying up and back, it's going to affect Jocelyn's piano playing right away. Like whenever she reaches for something, it's like, or if you do this, it's going to affect everything because then it's available to us. It's not just in that one context. I think it's available in our whole movement repertory and our whole thing rather than, yeah. Jocelyn, were you going to say something? Yeah. Yes, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that that comes back around to what we were talking about at the beginning of the class about these oppositions, right?
Yes. Yes.
So if I'm only thinking about my head, neck, back, and my shoulders and my feet on the floor, it's pretty hard to actually do very much. But if I've created habits where I'm hopefully doing those things in a way that I want to, then it's available for me to do the thing without getting in my own way, right? So there's something there too about we don't want to only think about Alexander and not think about life, but we don't want to only think about life and not think about AT.
Yeah, exactly. And that we want to have more choices, which is what Kareem was saying. Yeah, Nikki, yes.
Yeah, I was just thinking about what everyone's saying and thinking in my work, I think for me, it's about filling myself up more. And it's like thinking of the directions back and all of this is like a trick way for myself to fill up my body more, to like more stay with myself, more be in my form, puff it out, kind of like I don't know how to say it, but like it's like I become way more multi-dimensional. And I've started to notice that shift so that as I'm thinking up and back or think that I'm actually, yeah, tricking my body mind almost indirectly to fill up more of my container and be more in that. And I feel that I'm less kind of moving along a continuum and that continuum is moving through me, which makes me larger.
I don't know if I wouldn't say it's a trick. It's a means.
Yeah,
It's a process. It's a means. I mean, the Alexander
it's a means.
It's a means. It's a way of getting there.
It is, and it kind of like it's indirect. Like it's like if I go for that, I need to fill up. So it does feel a little bit like I'm kind of going, look over here, and I'm like, what? And then I don't realize I've done this thing. So it's in that way. It's a little, it's tricking myself a little bit to kind of, yeah.
Well, because I think the indirectness of it keeps us from grabbing it.
Yeah.
It creates this thing and we're not grabbing at it. It's like that. It's sort of like what Levin says with his self-tape, trying to focus on the technique is like, then it just gets in the way rather than indirectly sensing. And I think the spatial awareness gives us that indirectness. Finally, the heat's coming on. Yeah, good, yeah.
Well, and Kareem or anybody, but no, like the way I memorize this, I memorize ideas. I'm not memorizing the lines. I memorize the thoughts and the ideas that the character is having. And it's like the continuum that Nikki is talking about. Like from the beginning of when I started talking to, I said no, and then I went into I memorized ideas or I memorized thoughts, and then I talked about I memorized ideas. So I'm like continuing the thought, and that's a thing that the character does too. So then, I mean, it's since they're human, like most characters are human, then like I can follow that. I think I mean, some alien characters, but yeah, they would maybe have a different way of thinking. But yeah, like all the human characters follow that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, Kareem, Nikki, you guys have anybody have
Oh
thoughts?
yeah, I don't do any line memorization. I don't teach that. We do it. I don't know what Kareem 11 you do, but like I learn with the whole body. So it's all part of the flow, the whole continuum, so that it then comes out. It's not a disembodied, like rote thing that never works terribly well. A long conversation with that. Yeah.
A long conversation about, yeah, Kareem, any quick comments about? I'm curious what you say.
Memorizing in general, I mean, I think it's probably very similar to how a musician learns music.
Yeah.
Right? There are these component pieces, and similar to how we are, like when we're overly thoughtful sometimes of our body and the oppositional forces, it can feel like artificial or less connected because we're like focusing on it in specific, right? But then once you sort of integrate it, it becomes sort of natural again or integrated. And I mean, I think text is just like any sequence that people have to learn.
Yeah, and yeah, Jocelyn, yeah.
Well, I was going to say that just like Stanislavski, the acting teacher, talks about bits and chunking bits, like you break it into the bits and then you put the bits together, and that's exactly what we do at memorizing music too. So you, instead of just thinking of each note, you think, oh, well, these notes together form this chord, and these chords together form this pattern, and these patterns together form this larger thought, and then that becomes one unit of information that you can think about. So it's clearly chunking your information. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I do actually have a TED Talk about memorizing piano music. So if you want to hear me go on for 18 minutes about memorizing piano music, it is online, but it's about the necessity of finding the analysis of it so that you can have a map.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. I remember when I was dancing, there in some pieces that I would get this flow and this overarching phrasing, and then there would be moments like where, oh no, this is the moment I have to think of the ground right here. It's like I would fall over. It's like there is a moment where I have to pull the technique out and go now, and then go back into the whole thing. It's like this is you. It's, I think sometimes that, that it's a back and forth thing about being conscious of, like, you have a word that's really hard to pronounce, you have to bring yourself out of you have to bring, get your consonants together, the fingering or whatever is right at that moment. So it's this being present enough to know how to go through and bring yourself to your awareness that you need right in the moment, and then go back into the whole from there. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to set yourself up for a lie down, and then I'm going to sign off, and you can stay there as long as you want. How's that? Go on the, well, yeah, go onto the ground. Turn the, nice, nice, nice. Put Put a little more book under your head, Jocelyn. Do you have a book there? So do you have something under there? Yeah, good. Much better. Yeah. Okay. Sense yourself on the ground. Now think of this, even though it's not like on your 2 feet, you're still basically balancing on the floor. So you still got a sense of balance going on here. Notice the contact points on the ground. Sense your breath. Notice that you can use your breath even in this orientation where you're balancing on your torso to help you balance. Sense the ease, releasing into the ground and the ground reaction force. Soften your eyes, soften your jaw, soften your tongue. Find your full dimensionality. Sense your body in the space around you. I think you're right, Nikki. If we try to go directly for having a full volume, I mean, we can say sense the volume, but that's different than like make the volume in your body. Like the broader space, the bigger field, it allows it to fill out, I think. Fill in on its own without trying to pull or push on it in any way. And then sense your feet on the floor too. So you're sensing your full frame, your full envelope, your full container. in the space, like in the full space. Okay, I'm gonna sign off, end this. You guys stay there as long as you want to. And remember, when you're finished, roll over to your side. Take your time. See you soon. Bye. Jocelyn's asleep. There we go.